And welcome to the 23rd episode of Total Pod Mode, your weekly gaming podcast. My name is Will, and I also go by Hoodafunk, and I'm joined here by my good friend, co-host, and fellow gaming enthusiast, James, aka Mr. Bames, aka Champion of the World!
Ooh, nice.
I'm going on hard. I did your favour this week.
You did.
We're getting a bit grandiose with this, I gotta say. I mean, you're the champion of the games challenge.
Hey.
Of the world is still debatable, but I will give you that. You are the champion of the 2022 games challenge.
Did anyone else do a games challenge in the world like we did?
You are the champion of the Total Pod Mode World Game Challenge. Does that help?
I am the TPM World Champion.
We do consider ourselves global these days, so, I suppose that, we can work world into the title somewhere. I'm still not quite done with the tinkering on the belt, so I can maybe go back and engrave that in.
Hey, listen, if a small wrestling promotion can have their world champions, then we can too, right? But thank you for that lovely introduction, but it would be very remiss of me if I didn't say, what's going on, you lusciously lusty lapin? Yes, it is still Year of the Rabbit this Sunday, or well, yesterday by the time this releases. So yeah, go out, celebrate. I wish you all a very happy new year. Enjoy your week off, those of you that are taking the week off. And, I hope 2023 is a nice, prosperous year for you all.
Indeed, James. Indeed. With that intro out the way, James, let's crack on with the socials. You can, as always, find the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and pretty much anywhere else you get your podcasts by searching for Total Pod Mode. We also post regular video content of our playthroughs, stream highlights, as well as the podcast on our YouTube channel, Total Pod Mode.
You can also find us on Twitter by searching for @TotalPodMode, all one word.
Or you can find me at Hoodafunk on Twitter, and I'm also on Twitch, streaming under twitch.tv/Hoodafunk.
And you can find me on Twitter at Mr. Bames, and I'm also on Twitch under twitch.tv/MrBames_TPM.
So James, I think it's about time we had a catch up. Okay man, hit me up, what you've been playing this week.
So, this week I have played basically one game. And
right. Do tell.
It is Mass Effect, but not that one.
Right.
So, context. I got a little bit further ahead than Will did at Mass Effect Legendary Edition for Completionist Corner last week, so I didn't want to play too much more of that so that I didn't finish the game before Will had a chance to sort of catch up a bit. So, I'm sitting at home, I'm thinking, I really want to play some Mass Effect, but I don't want to get too far ahead. And starting 2 or 3 is off the table because I'm not going to start those randomly without a character I've imported. So what's the next best thing? Hey, Mass Effect Andromeda exists, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
It does.
Is it the next best thing, though?
Well, that's debatable, I suppose. But I had picked it up for, I think, £3 something in a sale of some description. So I had it already and I was like, yeah, let's give this a go.
Gonna scratch the itch of Mass Effect anyway, at the very least.
Exactly. So, and I played it a bit on Xbox. I don't remember thinking it was bad. I just stopped playing it. So I started playing it again.
And has that opinion changed?
Yes and no, I would say. I still don't think it's bad. It doesn't hold a torch to the original trilogy, let's be real about that. In terms of story, gameplay, it's kind of similar to 3-ish, and it's got a jetpack jump, which is really cool. Like
I have seen that.
A lot of time for that. That's a great mechanic. Otherwise, it's very, very similar to Mass Effect 3 in terms of how it plays. The guns feel pretty good. The leveling up system is a bit different. You don't start off as a class necessarily. You pick a class when you create the character, but it's not really a class. It just affects what starting abilities you have.
Okay.
But then it sort of works in a sort of, you get 4, 5, 3, however many skill points it is per level, and you can put them into literally anything you want. So I could be a soldier sort of starting class, but then I could pump biotics all I wanted. I could be a pure biotics, I could be biotics and tech, I can be pure combat, I can be whatever I want, any sort of mixture.
Okay.
The only sort of restriction on it is for certain abilities you have to have a certain amount of points in the tree. So for example, in biotics, I've got no points in biotics. I can natively have pull and throw, but if I want to get singularity, I have to invest 9 points into biotics or something like that. So that's it's quite cool.
I was going to say, are you enjoying the additional freedom that it allows you for that, or do you prefer the sort of more specialized class system of the original trilogy?
I don't know that I've got far enough yet to fully appreciate the new system, because at the moment what I've done is I've pumped everything into combat fitness, which just basically means I can carry 4 guns instead of 2. I get an additional weight allowance, because if you're heavier, your powers, they cool down a lot slower the heavier you are. So additional weight capacity is good in that regard. It can carry more guns, means I have more options. I'm essentially playing a sniper class because, again, sniping in Mass Effect games is just really fun.
So the inventory system isn't sort of item slot based anymore. It's all down to the actual individual weight of the items.
No, it's still slot based. It's more in your loadout. So if I'm carrying a pistol and a assault rifle, that might be taking up 100% of my weight load, which would mean my powers would regen at the normal pace. They'd have their sort of bog standard cooldown. And I think that is the lowest wall. I can't just carry a pistol round and just have my powers come back in 2 seconds. I think that is the lowest. Okay. But if I've got no power ups and I then, let's say I unequip my pistol and I have a sniper rifle and an assault rifle, that might put me at 150%, which means that my powers have a longer cooldown period.
Right, okay.
But with the perks I've got, I could just use a sniper and an assault rifle, but that might put it back down to 75% or 100%, meaning I get the quick power-ups again. So what I've actually got is I've got the ability to have 4 weapons, but I only carry 3. And that gives me power cooldowns at the normal rate, but I still have 3 weapons.
To be honest with you, I definitely don't make the use of all of my weapons. No. Whilst playing through Mass Effect 1, I'm pretty much focused on the pistol and the shotgun.
Yeah, you only ever need 2. That's the thing. Like, even in Andromeda, I'm using the sniper rifle almost exclusively. If I get myself in a bind, I'll use the assault rifle or the pistol. Really, I'm only carrying a pistol around because I like pistols, and it's good to have additional ammo, but doesn't quite work as like pick up ammo and hold it. It works more as like you have your ammo limit, and then there's boxes on the floor that you just sort of walk up to and it automatically refills your ammo. Pretty cool in that regard, but otherwise it plays basically the same sort of deal. The storyline is decent, but I haven't really cracked on with it too much yet.
It takes place quite a bit after the 3rd Mass Effect game, is that right?
Yeah, 600 odd years.
Right,
so
okay.
Mass Effect happens.
Has humanity moved on much other than having rocket jumps?
Well, this is the thing, right? What it is the premise is that after the Shepard saga, if you like,
the events of the original trilogy, yeah. Bear in mind that I haven't actually got there yet, so you're going to have to be slightly...
Well, no, I don't need to say anything.
Edge off on the spoilers.
Yeah, no spoilers at all. So the events happen, whatever happens, and then humanity looks to expand outside of the Milky Way. So they go to the Andromeda Galaxy, right? I think it's called the Andromeda Galaxy, or it's the Helios system, or something like that. So what they do is all of the council races, so Turians, Asaris, humans, and Solarians, they cryogenically freeze a bunch of people who volunteered for the initiative, because it's not like we're not leaving because the Milky Way's it's just like we want to expand our horizons.
This is an exploration mission sort of thing.
Yeah, it's about settling in a new galaxy, like exploring, learning new things and whatnot.
Okay, you're Star Trekking it.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
Well, yeah, pretty much, yeah, because there's no humans there for sure. I think there's only other alien species. But yeah, so you get cryogenically frozen, 600 years, you warp yourself all the way to the other end of the universe or whatever, and then the story starts with you defrosting and stuff goes down after that. So yeah, it's pretty cool, man. It's scratching the itch, as you say. I'm definitely looking forward to jumping back into more Mass Effect Legendary Edition, but it's been quite cool just to scratch that itch. Sort of kept me going, if you like.
Yeah, well, I'm pleased to say I have actually made some good headway into Mass Effect this week before we get too ahead of ourselves. So you will be able to dip your toes back into Mass Effect 1, at least briefly, before our next episode.
Exactly. So I'm going to endeavour to jump back into it a bit more. It definitely is worth more of my playtime. I think I've put, 10 to 15 hours in maybe. It's fun, but I was certainly noticing that by the end of some of my sessions, I was like, okay, I'm kind of ready for this to be done. Whereas with Legendary Edition, the original trilogy, I was never like that at all. It's definitely not...
You're like a hungry hippo for those Shepard charming quips.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I was actually going to ask you, so some of the main criticisms leveled at Andromeda were down to the facial animations and some of the voice acting. Yeah. And I got to say, I don't have any serious complaints with the voice acting for Mass Effect 1 so far, although Femshep is voiced by the excellent Jen Hale. Yeah. So I think that I haven't actually picked up on too much of the bad voice acting in the first game yet, but have you noticed anything off in Andromeda? How's the voice acting holding up now that you have a sort of a direct comparison?
It's fine. It's not bad. It's not good. Some of the facial animations are a bit meh, but I'm using the default character for my character in Andromeda because of that very reason.
It's the best it can possibly be if you use the default.
And I consider myself relatively good at that sort of thing. Not like a pro, but relatively good, and wasn't happening. Not even slightly.
Well, in these games as well, inevitably, when you're allowed to make a custom character, you would have probably started Andromeda about 13 or 14 times.
Yeah.
And although I do agree with you, it probably is worth the playtime that you put in, it might not have been worth 13 or 14 restarts.
No, literally look at it this way. I made one character, didn't like it, and was like, yeah, I can't be asked. I'm just going to use the default.
Default it is.
I even used the default name, Scott Ryder. Yeah, and what's cool about that is actually
Scott Ryder.
Is that they've obviously coded it in the game so that if you do call yourself Scott, and your sister's always called Sarah, right? But if you have a twin, sorry, I don't know if you knew that, but you have a twin in Andromeda.
Okay.
But if you call yourself Scott, which is the canon name, then some of the voice acting deliver lines calling you Scott as opposed to just Ryder.
Oh, okay.
So that's actually
cool.
kind of quite a neat thing that came out of it. But yeah, I did it once, as I say, and was like, no, this looks so facial animations, they're not brilliant in the original trilogy, I'm not going to lie, but they're definitely as bad, if not a little worse than Andromeda, but the voice acting's fine. If anything, I think the guy is actually voice acted pretty well. I'm not going to say better than male Shepard, but pretty good so far. Can't complain.
Fair enough. Yeah. You've restored a bit of my faith in that game. I'll have to, see how we get on with Mass Effect, and if I'm tired of it by the time we finish it, or whether I'm gagging for more. But, it sounds promising.
It does sound promising, but I would sort of hasten to add that if you finish the trilogy and you're looking for more Mass Effect, you're probably better off starting the trilogy again.
Okay.
Like, genuinely.
Okay,
and
right.
I mean that not necessarily from a disrespectful place from Andromeda. It's good, but it's not that trilogy.
It just doesn't hold up.
How about you, man? You've mentioned that you played some Mass Effect this week. Have you been playing anything else? Bit of COD, maybe? Been a while?
Do you know what? I'm going to start off this week talking about a game that we haven't spoken about so much on the pod. If anything, I think this is a debut for the pod in terms of a game that we've discussed. So this week, I've been playing a little bit of Smash Bros. With my mate Jem.
Very important question. I think I know the answer, but which one?
Smash Bros. Ultimate on the Switch. We have been playing this week. Mostly because it's the most accessible version. I think if Jem had his way, he would probably be playing the Wii version, and I'm typically more familiar with the GameCube version. Although it seems like it does hold up on the Switch. We've been having a good time playing it. So it's been quite a while since I actually last sat down and played this, and I typically do only play it with other friends. I haven't really put any time into the single player campaign, although I am conscious that Kirby is the main sort of protagonist that doesn't get captured, and he's then responsible for freeing the rest of the main characters from the evil captor.
Is that the campaign?
Yeah, that's the campaign.
Or is that the special mode?
Well, the special mode kind of serves as the campaign. There isn't really a campaign in this game beyond that. I was
going to say, for me, because I played the single player with most of the characters to unlock more characters and stuff. As you say, it's not really a campaign. You just have set stages, and then one stage that's not a fight, and then boss.
Yeah. And in fact, actually, that's not the quickest way to unlock new characters in the roster. The fastest way is to just repeatedly play Smash battles, because they unlock after a certain amount, and you essentially can expedite, just play low stock matches one after one.
Yeah.
But no, I was having quite an enjoyable time there. I'm usually getting schooled pretty hard by Jem on this game. I'm not going to lie. This is, as I've said quite a few times before on the podcast, I never really grew up with Nintendo consoles past the NES. So I am way outclassed when it comes to the Smash games. And a lot of my buds have been sort of playing this early into their childhood. And this is more sort of a series that I touched for the first time when I was maybe about 15 or 16 after just hearing about the hype and wanting to give it a go. So got a lot of catching up to do, my friends. I'm usually getting rinsed. What about you, James? Have you sort of put much time in your childhood for this title?
Yeah. The Nintendo 64 one was the one I put the most hours into comfortably. I then had a massive break because I never owned a GameCube and I didn't own Brawl on the Wii. And then I picked up Ultimate, but I've not played it much at all. So N64 version, I got some hours. I played a bit of Brawlhalla as well, which is kind of a similar thing. But
knockoff style. So who was your character then in Smash Bros?
Captain Falcon or Donkey Kong.
Okay, yeah. Strong choice on Captain Falcon. That's quite a popular choice.
Or Donkey Kong, as I say.
As is Donkey Kong, yeah.
Basically, Falcon Punch and Falcon Kick can get you out of pretty much any jam, and Donkey Kong's just big ape.
Get your paws off me, you dirty ape!
Just a big ape. And I like the fact you can make him
got
blue.
A good slapping the ground power.
Yeah, but you can't rinse that too much. I like if you charge up the punch, he sort of does his windy punch.
Yeah.
And then you can hold it. You can hold it and do other stuff. And it kind of works like Falcon Punch in that if you time it perfectly, you're going to knock them out. It's just going to happen.
Right. Fair enough.
So that was kind of my jam. But I did also enjoy playing as Kirby, but that was more just for fun. Not for serious.
It's hard to not out Kirby off the arena. That's the sort of the main ultimate goal for anyone who hasn't played Smash. I don't know where you've been, but if you haven't played Smash by now, it's a sort of a fighting game that operates on different rules compared to classic ones. Instead of having to drain your enemy's life bar, you need to incur enough damage to build up a percentage meter. A higher percentage, the easier you are to knock off the screen. And that's essentially how you earn points. You have a certain amount of lives, and if you get knocked off the screen a certain amount of times, that's the end of the game.
Yeah, in a nutshell.
You mentioned Captain Falcon there, so he's actually been pretty heavily nerfed since his original release, so who knows whether you'd enjoy him quite so much in Smash Bros. Ultimate.
I did enjoy him in Ultimate, but that's because I sort of knew all his moves still. But yeah, I did notice he'd been nerfed, yeah. But I'm not surprised. He was quite OP in the original, because even his up special was like, it was like a flip thing, but if he grabbed you, he'd then explode away from you. He was very, very good to use, which is why I used him. That, and he had a little pink outfit, and I thought that was cool.
Yeah, there's alternate skins for the characters. Some of them are essentially just recolors, but you do get an occasional one where they'll do like a fully different version. I think you can go for like a dark side Link that has red eyes.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, and I remember Captain Falcon, he had a pink and white one, and then just one that was just grey. And I used to alternate between those two quite a lot. And then
Grey Falcon.
Yeah, and my other favourite one was very random this, but Mario had like a white outfit with green overalls. I thought that looked really dope. There's like a white hat, white shirt, and then the green overalls. It's like a reverse Luigi almost.
Oh, interesting.
But Luigi wears blue overalls, obviously. But
yeah.
But now, how about you, man? Who are your mains? Let's say two or three favourites.
Yeah, 2 or 3 favourites. So I really like Cloud, the character from Final Fantasy VII. So he's got a really cool range of abilities. He obviously uses that giant oversized Buster Sword to quite good effect. It means that he has quite a good bit of reach. Obviously only to be upstaged by Sephiroth's massive blade.
Sephiroth in it?
Sephiroth's in it as a DLC character. So I don't have Sephiroth. However, Jem does, and that tends to be our sort of the final battle of the night. We have a bit of a tradition that we do a Cloud versus Sephiroth face-off.
Makes sense.
And so Cloud is definitely up there. This is a real cop-out, but you did ask me for free, so I'm going to chuck like a cheeky one in there.
Solid Snake.
No, honestly, Solid Snake is quite a hard character for me to master. He has such a big arsenal.
Great ass!
And I think that he's quite a technical character to play as, and I am not a technical Smash Bros player. I am, as I kind of implied earlier, very rusty at the game. I'm a massive noob. I do lots of stupid things, and more often than not cause my own death than actually get knocked off.
Been there, pal. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. You try and use your rescue move a little too late, or you mash the button and accidentally use it when you shouldn't, and then you're just screwed as you're floating off the stage.
Or you just realise that you're not quite pressing the right direction, so you do your side special instead of your up special, and you're just like, oh, nice.
Exactly, yeah. All the time I find that happening. So what I really don't need is a technical character that has a lot of different things that you have to sort of take the time to figure out what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
no Jigglypuff for you.
No Jigglypuff for me. No. And also no characters that are sort of highly maneuverable like Sonic or Pikachu. I find that more often than not I'll end up shooting myself off the stage by accident instead of actually. I've done that more on and off. But the second character that I'd like to shout out is actually my own Mii brawler.
Okay.
Because I have created that guy with a serious goddamn moveset. He has a ridiculous like forward lunge stab with his down special. He has the sort of Link style hurricane upward slash move that he can do to rescue himself. He's also got a really nice charged move that takes quite a while to pull off, but it can come as quite a surprise. He's got an annoying counter move. I've essentially just combined all of the moves of the different characters that I've played as and enjoy and just kind of put it into one character.
Which knowing your playstyle will be fucking moves. That's cool. No, it's funny you mention that. I haven't actually with the Mii brawler that much. I've obviously got one because I've got my Mii, but I need to customize the moveset a bit and have a go by the sounds of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really, really fun to be able to customize your own moveset and pinpoint all the moves that you like. Third character that I also really like playing as is Meta Knight.
Yeah,
I think he's got a really cool
nice.
moveset, and he's another character from the Kirby series. He's got the useful sort of Kirby hop jumps. He can kind of float through the air, which is great. And he's got a really powerful moveset. Although he does have one move that is kind of inspired for my Mii Brawler character as well, where he does this kind of forward charge. It's very easy to send yourself off the edge of the stage, because once you've done that side special move, as you've implied earlier, you then don't get to do your up special, which is typically the move that saves you from falling off the edge.
Yeah.
So you've spent that, and then you just kind of watch yourself just fall off the edge pathetically. It's a tough pill to swallow.
Always is, man. Always the most brutal thing. It's even worse if you've like, the sort of big brain strat is if someone's trying to get back in, you jump off and it's like do shit to them, knock them down, and then you jump back yourself.
Yeah, those like
if you do
spike moves and things like that. Super satisfying.
You ever done that but f***ed it up?
I'm not good enough to even attempt those.
You just feel like the biggest asshole ever, man. Like, good example, Kirby's down specially turns into a rock or an anvil or similar and just drops.
Yes, I've seen that one.
You can use that
before.
to super good effect in that situation, but if you f*** it up, obviously you look like a melon, right? You just go, ooh, just fall off the side.
Have you seen the incredibly trolly King Dedede thing where you suck them into your mouth if they're on their final stock and you just walk off the stage, just disrespect them?
Yeah.
That one, there was a violation. Personally, I wouldn't have it.
Yeah. I've also seen that go wrong, where they got spat out as he was falling, and he risked it to try and get it, and actually ended up losing the game. I've actually spent quite a bit of time watching Smash tournaments and things like that. I find them really fascinating to watch, some high-level Smash gameplay.
Yeah, I've not watched the tournaments, but I've definitely watched videos, and I've seen some dude win the World Championship with Jigglypuff, which is just absolutely ridiculous, because for
the level of like fight IQ in those games based on their simplicity is just insane.
And for those that don't know, Jigglypuff has one move that will literally one-shot you, but otherwise it's probably the weakest fighter in the game, I'd say. So certainly in the top few weakest, I think.
I definitely don't know enough to back that up, but I believe
it's like its standard moves, like its basic punches and combos do like no damage to you, but it's got one move where I think it's Sing, where it like gets like a hexagon around it, and that just sends everyone away. It's the only way to win with Jigglypuff.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, no, I agree. There's something quite nice and therapeutic about watching someone who's super fucking good at a game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you start to realize that they're playing a completely different game to you almost.
It's like shout outs to my mate Sai again. He's pretty damn good at Tekken for like your sort of average Joe. And he told me a story once about how he met someone who used to do like tournaments and stuff. Like, so a really good player, and he got hustled by this guy. He was like, "Oh yeah, do you want to play a bit of Tekken at lunch break or whatever?" Guy like lets him win the first round. So Sai's all like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna kick this guy's ass," and then literally just perfected him for 2 games. It's different game, isn't it? Because like you say, pro Tekken players just they're gonna start juggling you, and then you just can't do anything.
Yeah, exactly. A good player knows how to juggle and has these extended combos that flow into another combo, and Tekken's notoriously hard for actually getting those combos down. So if someone really knows what they're doing,
and the way Sai describes it is that you or I might see it as we're playing a game, and you've got the move, and you might get windows of the timings and stuff like that. These tournament level or pro players, they see frames. They see like, okay, yeah, you've got, if I do this punch, I'm then going to have 2 frames after that where I can do this move or this move. And if you then go to block, I've then got a frame and a half to fight. And it's just like,
these motherfuckers are playing chess.
Exactly. It's like, it's different level, man. Really is.
Other than that, I've just played a little bit more Stardew, but no major updates to go there. We're still in the thick of winter. The farm still looks like a miserable place to be, and I have yet to upgrade my house.
And Pierre's still a prick. So
absolutely, yeah. And I've made no inroads either to sleep with Linus or Abigail. So
I didn't realize sleeping with Linus was on the cards now.
Sleeping with Linus is always on the cards, Fair enough. He's just that kind of guy. He gets freaky with it.
Respect.
Okay, man, with the catch-up out of the way, it's time we moved on to some gaming news. Our first article this week reports 343 Studios are no longer leading the Halo series.
Gasp!
So this is a report from Game Rant. So, following the recent mass layoffs at Microsoft, a report from historically reliable Halo leaker Bathrobe Spartan claims that 343 Studios are part of a recently announced large number of job cuts at Microsoft. These major cuts affect Bethesda, Xbox, and 343 Studios. The article goes on to say that the studio will no longer serve as the primary developer for Halo, although they will still have a role as an overseer for the franchise, with projects handed off to third-party partners to create.
Interesting.
So this is pretty big news in the world of Halo. I mean, a lot of fans of the series would agree that Infinite had a less than good, less than even bad launch, a pretty terrible launch in terms of the rate that the campaign as well as the additional content were released, the failed promises that we discussed previously in terms of admitting to the fact that co-op just wasn't going to become a thing. A rather lackluster release all round, including difficulty with progression and experience gain from multiplayer matches not paying up enough, expensive skins, and extremely low drop rates for items. These were all sort of, part of the mass feedback loop that was essentially saying that Halo Infinite came out and was forgotten pretty damn quickly.
Yeah, and these are all reasons why this news doesn't surprise me at all. It's a little bit out of the blue, maybe. Like, I don't know if I necessarily saw it coming, if you see what I mean, but you said it, and I'm like, yeah, I understand that. That makes a lot of sense.
It does make a lot of sense. I guess the only, the tiny shard of surprise that I saw here was literally just due to the fact that I thought Microsoft had committed to their confidence in 343 Studios going forward. I got to say, my belief in that was that Microsoft at the time were misguided in that confidence. Yeah. So I think that, I do tend to agree with you. I think that this is something that doesn't come as a huge surprise.
Yeah. Microsoft probably said that so as to show support to them because, as you say, it's not like 343 have been forever, right? They did have a hand in the successful Halo stuff too, right?
Yes. It's a respect thing. They don't want to throw them under the bus, sort of thing.
Which is also probably exactly why they're still the overseer now, even though they're not directly involved in it.
Absolutely. They still respect them enough to sort of oversee the ongoing projects and things like that. Especially now Bungie has buggered off and been acquired by Sony.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that the main issue with these games, and it's important to point out, that these Halo games aren't bad overall games. It's just purely down to the fact that Halo does have a higher bar as an established franchise, and the things that Halo did well previously have started to slip in some of the more recent entries in that series. So it's not so much that the games are bad games, it's more about the fact that they're not amazing Halo games sort of thing, and not...
So similar to what I was saying to Andromeda earlier. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not the trilogy.
Exactly. A lot of people would not class the recent Halo games, myself included, as a worthy successor to the earlier entries in that series.
Yeah, and I think that's fair enough. I mean, and the other thing that probably shines this in a slightly brighter light is the fact that Halo was not really sure what to say now, but it's Xbox's crown jewel, right?
Pretty much. Yeah, absolutely. I can't think of a better frontman than Master Chief for the Xbox.
Yeah, I mean, when I think Xbox and exclusives and things like that, I think Halo, Forza, and Gears.
Yeah,
probably in that order.
That's the trifecta. Yeah. Yeah. So I think this is, this can kind of be taken either way here. This is potentially exciting news for Halo fans in terms of the fact that this could potentially be put into the hands of new third-party studios. They could potentially take the game in new directions that are good. Or this also could be a sign of a little bit of concern that Halo is moving even further away from the sort of pre-established tropes of the series. I think that, it's just one of those ones we're going to have to wait and see. But yeah, definitely some intriguing news, and I'm keen to see what other Halo games come out as a result of this. I mean, Halo has had some pretty successful spin-offs. I myself enjoyed Halo Wars. I never played the second one, but I put a good few hours into the first one, which that was a sort of real-time strategy Halo game. And there have been some successful, sort of spin-offs of big Microsoft IPs as well. I mean, Gears of War had a tactics spin-off, which is essentially like an XCOM style Gears of War game. So yeah, who knows? We may see something like that. I wouldn't be at all surprised if we saw a Halo XCOM style game at some point.
Or fun sort of hypothetical here. Microsoft take over Activision Blizzard, obviously famous for COD. They give Halo to Activision. We get...
Well, that would be definitely not what the Halo fans want.
But, that's why I say fun hypothetical. I don't see it happening personally, but...
It's feasible. It's definitely not what people want, but it's feasible. I think that a lot of people would be very disturbed stress.
Yeah, I agree, man. Yeah, and let us know in the comments if you think that Activision making a Halo game would be any fucking good at all. I don't personally. I think that they'd ruin it.
No, and at any time Halo has attempted to emulate anything from the Call of Duty formula, the pushback on it has been pretty
No,
intense.
and rightly so. Apart from not having a sprint, that's ludicrous. But Halo should be Halo.
It's a matter of opinion.
Yeah.
I get the sprinting thing personally,
But I didn't grow up with
yeah.
Halo. I played Halo later, so I will say that. But yeah, Halo stick to Halo, and Activision stick to COD.
Okay, man, I think it's about time we moved on to our second article of the week. So, controversy has once again shaken the world of Harry Potter after an attempted boycott of the sales of Hogwarts Legacy due to the series author J.K. Rowling being accused of making transphobic comments by fans.
Are we calling it accused of? Didn't she
For legal purposes,
Okay.
we are remaining as accused of. And
Okay, allegedly.
Even the website hosting the promotional material for the upcoming Hogwarts Legacy title has actually stated on their Q&A that J.K. Rowling is not involved in the creation of the game in order to quell some of the criticisms and sort of current boycotting concerns around the sales of this game and its connections to the aforementioned J.K. Rowling.
And I believe that this was also something that was raised a number of months ago when this subject sort of first reared its head a little bit. It's
That's
obviously
right,
coming back
yeah.
into the fore now because the game is coming out in 2-3 weeks at the time of recording, I think, something like that. So yeah, this had already been discussed. And I think one of the things I saw that was quite amusing was the way to stick it to J.K. Rowling would be to have, when you create your character, have a non-gender option or a non-binary or whatever. And I thought that was quite neat. It'll be interesting to see if they do it.
Do you know, and this is kind of one thing I will say is I think that, they have made it clear, as I say, that JK wasn't involved in this. And I think that this game is going to be a game that is very much of its time and doesn't reflect JK's views at all. Within the title, I think that this is more of a reflection of the wizarding world that she's created and less about her sort of more political and social opinions. So I think that it wouldn't be at all surprising if you were to see strong signs of sort of inclusivity within the game and more things that would sort of take into account the current sort of social climate.
Yeah, no, it'd be interesting to see, man. As I've said a few times before on the pod, I don't like to read into games too much when I'm looking forward to them, and this is a game I'm very much looking forward to. But it would not surprise me at all if that was a thing, as you've mentioned, because, in a lot of facets of life now, we're seeing things like enhanced gender options, enhanced sexuality options, and things like that in games and other areas of culture. So it wouldn't surprise me.
I think that some people, although that they have gone on record to say that she's not involved with the game, some people are still not happy with that, and they're conscious of the fact that J.K. Rowling will almost certainly be earning royalties off of the use of her works within the game, so she's definitely be earning money off of the back of this. And some see that as a sort of indirect endorsement of her transphobic views. Do you think that this will have a sort of perceptible impact on the sales of this game, or do you think that the sort of the mass appeal of Harry Potter will generally ensure that this game does perform well in terms of sales?
I think it's going to be a very interesting one to look at. I do think that ultimately the sort of overarching love for Harry Potter and that world will trump anything else. I mean,
it's a global franchise, isn't it? It's hugely popular.
And I can only really talk about myself in this. I'm 100% for people being whoever they want to be and having the right to do whatever they want.
But that didn't stop you pre-ordering that
exactly.
did it?
That's the thing. I'm going to pick up this game. I'm probably going to enjoy it. But I do understand why people would boycott it, and I think that they're absolutely within their rights to do that, and I would respect the reasoning for it.
I think it's just about sort of, respecting people's opinions in terms of not wanting to support this title, and, I don't think that the sort of criticisms against someone making a personal choice based on their own beliefs are really valid. However, at the same time, I also respect people's choice to buy this game as well, because I don't think that buying this game is a direct or indirect support of transphobic views.
Yeah, agreed, completely.
So, James, moving on to our third article of the day. Surprise, surprise, The Last of Us show is actually good.
Ooh.
Or at least it's been critically well received.
So far, one episode.
So, if I pull up my Last of Us Rotten Tomato meter, I can see here that the average tomato meter is 99% currently for The Last of Us, with an average audience score of 96%. This has got to be one of the highest rated video game to movie/TV show conversions out there. I'm just trying to think of some comparisons out there. Let's have a quick look.
It's probably the most apt one, right?
So, The Witcher is actually currently sitting on an 81% Rotten Tomato meter with a 74% average audience score.
Still pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely still good. And obviously that would have been affected as an ongoing thing by sort of more recent episodes. If it started out quite strong in season 1, it would have probably dipped in some of the later seasons. And obviously I think we're currently sat on only the premiere episode of Last of Us being released. So there's still time for that score to drop. But, I think that's a very strong opening episode if it's being rated so highly as that. And I got to say, all of the reviews that I've heard so far are praising the attention to detail in terms of sticking within the lines of the narrative of the game, whilst also introducing a few new elements and various nods to the game that enjoyers of the actual video game will enjoy, as well as being more than enough for new viewers and people that have never actually played the games before.
Yeah, and just picking up on the point you've made there about how it sort of follows the game quite closely, one of the things that I'd read about it that made me laugh quite a lot actually was apparently they're not doing so much crouching in it and sneaking about, and apparently
Okay.
and apparently the reason given for that is because I don't know if it was Pedro Pascal directly who said it, the actor playing Joel, but it was because the fact that Joel is meant to be a 50-year-old man, his knees wouldn't be up for all that crouching, which just made me laugh.
Yeah.
So they've cut that a little bit in it, but
they're not wrong.
They're not wrong at all.
Joel does spend a lot of time crouching around and hiding.
Exactly. That
Skulking.
just made me laugh. It's like, yeah, they're really, really putting an eye to detail with this show. I haven't seen it though, so I can't judge too much, but certainly a very strong start.
Yeah, and you mentioned Pedro Pascal there. Also the casting of some of the actors has been praised as well.
And I think the Ellie actress, whose name escapes me, I apologise for that.
Bella Ramsey.
She's getting a lot of praise for being pretty excellent as well.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and I've actually gone back and seen a mod for The Last of Us Part 1, which actually mods Bella Ramsey's face back onto Ellie. Also, another strong casting choice I saw here. I think that Nick Offerman as Bill is a really good choice as well. Nick Offerman, obviously being most well known for his role as Ron Swanson in Parks and Recreation.
Reminds me of when my dad made me choose which of my pet calves to slaughter with my own hands for my 6th birthday.
I think that, again, just in terms of visually, he would absolutely play the part well, and he's definitely a versatile enough actor to be able to pull off a role like that. I'm just interested to see more of this series, and I've yet to actually sit down and watch the first episode myself, but I'm absolutely enthused by the really positive reception that it's actually come out with, and I think that any day now I'm going to sit down and make the time to watch this. Looking forward to what I'll see, and being a big fan of The Last of Us series, I'm really excited to see some of these nods that I'm hearing about in terms of little references.
Yeah, and that's probably exactly the reason why I'm going to hold off watching it for now, because I probably want to play the first game first before I watch it, because I want to be involved in that. I want to be like, oh yeah, that's a nod to that. And
I think that's very fair.
As opposed to doing it the other way around. So we'll see. I may well cave because I'm curious. But yeah, it's great to hear that it's done well, and hopefully it keeps it up, because we've had too many busts in the old games to AN other media.
Okay, James, done with the news for a week. Time to crack on with another section of Completionist Corner. Sting coming soon.
Sting coming soon.
So, as we come back to Completionist Corner for the second sort of run through of the Shepherd Saga, I think I referred to it as earlier, we ended last week's show having just finished Eden Prime. We destroyed the beacon, and we were going to go and land on the Citadel and tell the council about what went down.
So we arrive with our crew. That it would be Caden, Ashley, Captain Anderson, Shepard, Joker, and a bunch of nobodies, pretty much, right?
So we've landed on the Citadel. The first thing we're tasked with doing is we talk to Ambassador Udina, who is a politician, basically, and that's exactly as negative as you want it to be. He's a little prick, this guy.
Possibly the character in the Mass Effect series for a good long while, I imagine. Like, next to obviously the main antagonist.
Saren, honestly. Horrible human being. Mirrors modern politics incredibly well, I've got to say. The ground team from Eden Prime, which is Shepard, Caden, and Ashley, go there with Captain Anderson, the commanding officer, and we are to give our debrief to Udina. He's not too impressed because as far as he's concerned, all we have is the testimony of a dock worker who was asleep, which is our smuggler friend on the docks. But we don't have any hard evidence other than witness testimony. And the first mission sees us head to the Citadel Tower, which is where the council chambers live, to give our version of events to the council, hear what they have to say. And interestingly, because Saren is a Spectre, so he works directly for the council, he is also on this call, sort of in Zoom mode, if you like. He just pops up as like a hologram, like epic foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Day.
Oh, let me get a screen share sorted.
Red hologram boy.
And I got to say, I was a little bit nervous about this meeting with the council. Well, it was supposed to be a routine shakedown, became a recovery mission, and then turned into accidentally destroying the thing we were supposed to recover and letting the bad guy get away.
And another Spectre got killed as well.
Not a great first impression.
F in the chats for Nihilus. And suffice to say, because we have no hard evidence, Saren denies everything. Basically, I think we mentioned on last week's episode that him and Captain Anderson have some history there. Very briefly mentioned it.
He basically puts it all down to just blatant lies, doesn't it?
So, and I think he says something along the lines of,
Captain Anderson, you always seem to be present when humanity raises an issue with me.
And it's just like, he proper
Right,
slimy
digs up the
bastard,
beef.
which, you got to respect the writing in it. But, so the council finds, like, Saren innocent, if you like, and just says, but without hard evidence, it's never going to work.
Request to disband him from the Spectres denied.
And Udina wasn't happy with it. A great shot of him looking all upset and pissed off, just sort of on his own with his head down after the verdict's given. Like,
he kind of basically gets pissed off in that meeting, doesn't he? It's like, you guys just don't like humanity.
Yeah, pretty much.
He kind of loses his cool, which I wasn't really expecting his character to do so early on. He turns into kind of like a whiny guy.
He is honestly the worst. Like, it's a really well done character. Like, props to the voice actor and props to the writers, but
yeah,
me, I hate this guy.
Yeah, which again is only a reflection of just how well he's written.
He's playing the heel brilliantly. Cannot deny that.
Yeah.
But the long and short of it is that we then get sent off to go and find some evidence. Now, how are we going to do this? We have no leads. Well, as we were walking into the Citadel Tower before our meeting, we saw Will's favourite race, a Turian, arguing. Oh, you can't see this, but Will was just given the dirtiest look on the webcam there.
Not having that.
Fucking snake people.
Actually, I will just get ahead of myself and say here, after meeting this dude, my tune changed.
Yeah. Garrus is a legend, like, right?
Yeah, he's fucking sick.
He's one of the best. Garrus is a Turian CSEC officer, and CSEC is council security or Citadel security, I think it actually is. The police on the Citadel, basically. You see him arguing, saying that, I'm this close to finding some evidence that incriminates Saren.
That's a pretty good lead.
Very good lead indeed.
That's a pretty good lead.
And he sort of comes up to you and goes,
doing the same thing.
Exactly. And he's like, you're Commander Shepard. Yeah, you're a legend. And you give you sort of like a bro hug and stuff. And then it's like...
Nice. They respect, do a little secret handshake.
And then the other lead you get is you hear tale of another alien race that we didn't actually cover much last week called the Krogan, who are sort of amphibian-looking brutes, sort of hulking, big, muscular people who just work as space mercs and guns for hire.
That's about right, yeah. If you want a point of reference from another sci-fi series, I guess they're closest to the Klingons from another Star Trek reference. I'll slide that in there.
Didn't you know you were a Trekkie, mate?
Le who? The her.
But yeah, no, that's pretty apt comparison, I'd say. But you hear tale of a Krogan causing CSEC some issues because he's basically beefing a guy who probably has information that will help you. So you get given these leads. Will, out of interest, which lead did you go for first?
I think just because it sounded the most promising, I actually went to go check out Garrus first. It seemed like definitely the most promising, and also having played a little bit of the game before, I was aware of some of his talents in terms of his class, so it seemed like a good one to go for.
Yeah. For me, there is a side quest that if you get Rex first, it doesn't lock you out of it, but it delays you being able to do it.
Oh, right, okay.
So I do Garrus first so that I can then run around, do side questy bits, get Rex, and then do that. So we go down, we find Garrus, who you find out eventually is in a medical center helping out the local doctor who has got some thug problems. You recruit him. He does a pretty sweet headshot to kill a guy that was about to hurt Dr. Michelle, who's the doctor in question.
That's right, yeah.
And
she has a lot of thug problems, by the way, because you go back and she has some more thug problems, like after that. Like,
exactly.
She is besieged by thugs.
Yeah.
What the hell is she doing? She's a doctor.
I know, right? It's dodgy But yeah, you recruit Garrus. You then probably go and get Rex.
Yeah, definitely the next best step. You want to get the squad together,
Exactly,
man.
you
You
wanna
got to
get
go
your
get the
crew.
boys.
And Rex's quest sort of is what moves the story on, if you like, because what Rex wants to do is he wants to kill the owner of the, let's call it local nightclub, I suppose. There are technically 2 on the Citadel, but this is Cora's Den, which is sort of the more divey one, if you like.
Yeah, Cora's Den's like kind of a gentleman's club, they refer to it as in the
Yeah.
game, whereas the other nightclub, I think they just refer to it as a nightclub.
Yeah, well, Flux is also it's a gambling hall as well, and it's actually got like
That's
a
true.
dance floor and stuff. Whereas Cora's Den is more a dive bar. You've just got it's dark, it's dingy.
Just going to sidetrack us again as well, though. Gambling in Mass Effect sucks donkey balls, man. Who the hell is playing that game and enjoying it? It's essentially, it's like, you really enjoy it. There's like, you just press 2 buttons and hope for the best.
Yeah, but there is tactics to it, man.
Yeah, I mean, yes, there are tactics, but they don't take very long to figure out. And then before it gets back to kind of being another game of chance sort of thing. It's not terrible to play, I will say. Like, I got enjoyment out of it for all of about 2 minutes before I was like, I will never touch this again.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I didn't play it much apart from the side quest to do with it.
Yeah,
but
it's no Gwent, I'll tell you that.
Oh, it's no. Oh, no.
No Gwent.
Gwent's wonderful. No, that literally spawned a game of its own. I mean,
Yeah,
two in fact. But yeah, no, it's not bad, but it's not good. I'll cop to that. You have to press too many buttons for one game as well. It's too slow.
Yes, yeah. Anyway, back to Cora's Den.
Back to Cora's Den. So you are tasked with killing the owner of Cora's Den, who is a chap called Fist.
Gross.
And he essentially is the big crime daddy that's on the Citadel at this point.
He's well connected.
Very well connected indeed. Now, at the start of this, you start off by heading to Cora's Den and you have to shoot your way through a bunch of guards because they've obviously, like, everyone is aware that Rex is coming for this guy because Rex is not subtle. One of them...
No, yeah.
I fucking love Rex. He's one of the best characters in the game, in my opinion, and we'll probably talk more about him at length at some point further down the line in later episodes, because when you get to know him, he's just brilliant. Fucking wonderful character. But yeah, subtlety is definitely not one of his fortes. He will tell you exactly what he thinks of you and what he's going to do to you. But I'm actually going to pass to you for a bit here, because at the start of when you get into Cora's Den, you cleared it out. You then head into the back room and you sort of head to where go get Fist. There's a little interaction you can have with a couple of the door guards, and I want to know, Will, as the Renegade character, what happened when you met these 2 lovely guardsmen?
Yeah, so in this one, I'd obviously been pumping up my intimidation skill to make sure I pass these checks. And basically, you say something to the effect of, I just took out a fucking armed squad, bunch of Fist bodyguards. Do you really think you door bouncers are going to stand up to us? And they're like, yeah, fair play. Okay, all right, we'll put our guns on the floor and off.
Yeah. As opposed to the Paragon option, which is essentially,
Guys, it's really worth it. Just go get another job somewhere else.
and they're just like, yeah, never liked Fist anyway. And then they just leave. Yeah, it's great.
I gotta say, in that instance, I think that's a clear win for the Renegade scenario. Like, we just fucking killed all these ex-Marine dudes. Do you really think you guys that are used to just chucking Johnny Nobody out the club for having a few too many space ciders?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
So I'm going to call it now. I think that the vast majority of the direct comparison choices are going to be, like, the Renegade options are going to be better. Maybe not better, funnier, for sure.
Funnier, yeah, definitely.
For sure.
Yeah.
There's a couple I can't wait for you to get to.
I mean, a lot of these have the same outcome, essentially,
they all
but
have
they
the same
just give
outcome.
you that
Yeah.
extra flavour, which is still appreciated.
Exactly. Every single one has the same outcome, I think.
A couple of the meatier side quests have some different I mean, obviously the outcome is always the same, that you complete the quest,
Yeah.
but you get a bit more to it.
But no, so then once you've dealt with the guards in whichever way you see fit, all options are viable. I think you can even kill them. You don't have to talk them out of it. You can just be like, f you. Bum, bum, bum.
That's the kind of middling option, I guess,
You're
if you
not
haven't put
stacking,
any
yeah.
points into, charming or intimidation.
But yeah, so you get rid of those guards however you see fit. You go through another couple of rooms of more guards and various boxes to open and things like that before getting to a little back room where Fist is sitting in some very nice mercenary armor that you can't take, which is a real shame.
It's a shame.
Random question. When you fought Fist, did he have time to have his 2 turrets pop up as well?
He did, yeah. I had to take out the 2 turrets before I could really focus fire on him. I tend to, because I'm focusing on sort of biotic powers, I'm using a lot of my Matilda lifting and throwing.
Yeah, nice.
So I kind of just had him like floating around in the background through the air whilst I was focusing on his turrets for the majority of that fight.
Because it's interesting, because normally when I do this mission, the turrets come up and it's fine. But when I did it with this character, I don't know what, I must have killed him super quick or something, but the turrets didn't spawn.
Oh, right. Okay.
Which is fine in a way, but I guess I missed out on about 300 experience, which I hope...
Yeah, they do give you a pretty decent amount of XP thinking about it, yeah.
Which I'm hoping, if I end the game on level 59, I'm going to be very upset. But
just for those turrets.
Yeah, well, you never know. But so you beat Fist down. He basically pusses out, says, "Oh no, we don't even have what you're looking for." Which is, you think that he just has evidence, but it turns out that actually what he has is, or had, should I say, is a Quarian, which is another of the alien races. They're very, very highly susceptible to diseases and things like that. So they wear full body suits that have Omni-Gel, which is like the medical solution, if you like, to everything. They have it running.
Just rub it on your butt cheeks whenever you're feeling unwell and it fixes you right up.
There you go. It has to be the butt cheeks, though.
Has to be the butt cheeks.
Yeah. Not in the crack, though. Never.
Not for internal application. No,
absolutely
it's
not.
Just purely external butt cheek application.
Yeah, don't use it as lube, people. They wear suits like that have that coursing around it so that they're constantly
insulated
in antibiotic state.
Blubber.
I just want to be pure.
But yes, so you're led to believe that Fist just has the evidence. He actually has a Quarian who actually has the evidence, but he lets you know the Quarian's no longer here. Oh no! Where's the Quarian gone? Well, he has organised a meeting with her that he's not actually going to turn up to himself. He's going to send Saren's men to get the evidence from her. You get told about this meeting and you can then either kill Fist or let him go. I'm assuming you killed his ass.
No points for guessing what I did.
Yeah. Which honestly I actually think is the correct thing to do in this instance, but I did
he's a
let
crime
him go.
lord. He's not going to do anything. Yes, we have committed to doing, regardless of what our conscience tells us, we have committed to doing our full Paragon / Renegade playthroughs.
Exactly, and worth noting that if you have Rex with you in this quest, you don't get a f***ing choice.
Oh really?
Yeah,
That's
Rex
cool.
just
Okay.
kills him. Rex is just like, yeah, bye.
Nice.
But if you don't have Rex with you, and you then have I believe it's a 3-minute time limit to go and disrupt the meeting and save the Quarian.
That's right.
And this essentially involves you fighting back through Cora's Den, which now has more guards, and finding the meeting spot, which is conveniently right outside Cora's Den, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. It's on the passageway, just leaving it, yeah.
Exactly, and you get a nice little cutscene where one of Saren's men tries to steal the evidence off her. Tally's, who's the Quarian's not having any of it, gets attacked, and then you jump in and save the day. It is there where you get introduced to her. Her full name is way too long, and it changes in Mass Effect 2.
Oh, does it? Why does it change?
It changes because she joins your ship officially, and their last name is the ship that they serve on. So her name's like Tali Ra Vas something in the first game. I forget what it is, and she becomes Tali Ra Vas Normandy in later ones.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, but I can't remember what it is for Tali.
Her purpose for being there is essentially she's on some sort of pilgrimage for her alien race. Is that right?
That is correct. So the Quarians are very, very into their tinkering and engineering and stuff, which is why they love their ships, which is why they're named after their ships they serve on. I think they created the Geth, and then the Geth revolted against them. I think.
Ah, okay.
Pretty
sure.
Yes,
I definitely know that the Geth revolted against their creators. I didn't piece together that it was actually right.
Unless I'm getting confused here, but I'm pretty sure it's the Quarians, because the reason that Tali has evidence is because she's managed to recover a Geth audio core.
See, I remember that, but I didn't ask her how she was able to do that, because typically that cliche thing is once you've killed them, they scramble their own brain, so they can't be recovered. And I guess if I would have asked her that, she would have gone into that bit of detail.
Yeah, and I think all she really says is, I didn't get it all, but basically because we know the Geth really well, probably because they invented them, they were able to recover it. Basically, she plays you this recording, and what it has on it is it says Saren saying, Eden Prime was a great success. We're now one step closer to finding the conduit.
Those stupid council idiots. I got the beacon. I did it all. They'll never guess it was me. Never! Ha ha ha! Evil laugh.
Exactly. And then there is actually also a second part of that message that then you hear an Asari lady talking.
Additional voices on the recording, yeah.
Exactly, who it turns out is Matriarch Benizia, who's a very, very famous and powerful Asari matriarch. So with this new found evidence, you take it to the council. They're like,
holy shit, man. You were right. We were wrong. I'm sorry we doubted you.
My bad.
Funnily enough, Saren's not at this part. Like, didn't think to
zoom
him
reach
into
Saren
this,
for this one. No, he was busy, I guess.
Convenient. The council could have been more apologetic, I think. Like, they weren't exactly like, oh well, you, but they were sort of like, yeah,
we were wrong, but we're not going to say sorry.
In light of this, I guess that we get rid of this guy now. No more Saren being a Spectre.
Yep, they instantly revoke all his Spectre privileges.
And you and Captain Anderson high five.
But the nice thing that comes out of this is, much to the chagrin of, I believe, the Turian, funnily enough.
Yeah, absolutely. He still doesn't quite trust humanity.
Not
just
quite.
Yet.
You can win him over. You won't, because you're a renegade.
I know.
No. I'll win him over eventually. But you finally do become a Spectre as a result of your sort of looking for the evidence, finding the evidence, and therefore justice being served. Udina's still a miserable prick, but he's at least says congratulations, I suppose. Anderson's loving it. He's like, yeah, I knew you could do it. You're my boy or girl. Yeah. Go Normandy. At this point, the council sort of say, like, we're not going to send the whole fleet after Saren, which is what Udina suggests. He didn't really fucking think this through, does he? Oh yeah, we're going to send a whole army after one bloke who you don't know where he is. Dumb as shit. So the council decide, hey, why not send a small strike team? You're a Spectre now. You go do it.
Seems sensible. Shepard is more than happy to accept the challenge.
They certainly are. My one was very nice about it.
My one was like, it's about time, motherfucker.
Yeah, that's literally, I think that's almost verbatim what he says. You then go off. You have another few conversations with a few people, including Captain Anderson, who very kindly relinquishes control of the Normandy to you.
Well, that's one way of taking that situation. The
other one he
got thrown under the bus, screwed over.
We can't have you involved because of your past history with Saren.
Exactly, yeah.
Which, to his credit, I think Captain Anderson does say, I don't like it, but he's right.
Yes, he does.
So,
yeah.
And then a few side quests were picked up around the Citadel. We sort of wandered around, saw some people. One of note that we probably should mention is someone's a little bit of a fan of ours, aren't they, Will?
Yeah, absolutely. So there is someone that is, super happy to see us. He's somewhere around the market quarter. He's just someone that you can wander on by, and he immediately recognizes you as the heroic Commander Shepard.
Yeah.
And I immediately snubbed him. I was kind of like, who the f*** are you? Yeah, and he didn't take it well. He definitely was like very put off straight away by my immediate snub, and basically was like, oh, well, you're just an arsehole. I never meet your heroes, I guess. F*** you. And then kind of gets a bit upset and wanders off.
Oh.
And that is still an open quest, and we've spoken a little bit about this in between episodes, but you did say that essentially he's a bit of a recurring character that keeps popping up. So now that I've snubbed him, I'm interested to see just what he's going to come back with.
So basically all I'll say is go back to the Citadel after you do every sort of main mission and just like wander around, because you'll get a few more bits.
So what did you do with this guy then? Sign his titty and send him on his way?
Pretty much. So the first one is an autograph.
All right, okay, yeah.
So literally, I didn't quite sign his titty, but I signed his data pad.
Okay,
so
okay.
Same thing, right?
Same thing in the future, right?
On the data pad, it might have been a picture of his boob, but I don't know.
Rub it all over your data
Could have
pad.
been. So there's that one, and I don't mind telling you that I've met him for the second time, and the second time is a photo.
Oh right, okay. I would like to know if there was like a kind of a bit of a renegade photo option where you still do the photo, but you f*** it up somehow in a way that he subtly doesn't notice. You do rabbit ears behind his head.
No comment. Right, it's not like I don't recall it being like that, but what you do is hilarious. So, but yeah, so that's quite a little fun little interaction. There's other side quests, sure, but most of them is actually just picking up, and then they're actually on random planets throughout that you'll visit at later points. So probably not too many to cover here. That basically concludes sort of section 1 of the Citadel, if you like, because you will be back there numerous times as the game progresses, because it's your main hub sort of thing.
So following your Citadel escapades, you are then tasked with heading to a couple different planets for some further evidence and leads for Saren. There's 2 planets, Feros and Noveria, and you are also tasked with a sort of a little bit of a third mission, which is that you have heard rumors that there is an Asari character somewhere on a planet that may also be able to give you some information. At that point, have they revealed to you that she is in fact the daughter of Matriarch Benezia, who is the voice on the recording alongside Saren, or are you still kept in the dark about that?
I believe that
I think you find out pretty quickly.
I think you are made
you find
aware.
out pretty quickly.
Yeah, no, I think you are. Yeah,
that's probably, if anything, why you're tasked to go find her. Yeah.
Well, it's that, and she's also a leading researcher on the Protheans, who are the Promethean race that we sort of referenced last week.
Yeah,
and because she's sort of a leading expert on those, it's worth you getting involved to see if you can find out more about the beacon, the vision that's etched in your mind, and things like that. So it's sort of 2 sides of the same coin. But yeah. When you get on the ship just before you leave the Citadel, you're given the option to give your new crew an inspirational speech, shall we say.
Yeah.
So I will open and say that I was incredibly motivating, and I was like,
Yeah, we need to do this for humanity. It's going to be tough, but I know we can pull through. We're going to get this motherfucker, and it's going to be great.
and in my mind, everyone was like, yeah, come on,
Everyone's
boys. Come on,
looking up
boys,
from
we
their
got this.
monitors and nodding in agreement.
So, but Will, please tell me how yours went.
Essentially, it's a case of like,
We're out here, humanity, we're on our own. The council isn't gonna help us. Everyone else.
Yeah.
We're getting out there and we're gonna hunt that motherfucker down. We'll go to the ends of the galaxy. We'll do whatever we need to do.
kind of that type of spiel, yeah.
And if I have to kill all of you to achieve my goals, damn it, I will!
Yeah. Meanwhile, everyone's starting to give each other the side eye now, like, okay, he's getting carried away here.
Yeah. Man, I f***ing love playing Renegade. I mean,
It's so good. It's so good. The character you play is amazing.
So with those rousing speeches out of the way, our crew's suitably inspired or sort of cowering at this point. You leave...
Worried for their well-being.
Exactly.
Today's a good day to die!
You leave the Citadel and you're then presented with this big old star map where you can't quite go everywhere yet, but you can go to most of the major systems that you can visit in the game. So in terms of how we were going to break this up, Will and I decided that the best course of action was to go and get Liara first, so going to Artemis Tau first, because that way we have our full crew, because she's the last recruitable character.
Yeah.
We have our full crew for the longest amount of time possible, which also plays into some potential romance options.
I want to bang the blue chick.
You little pervert.
Having made the decision of how we were going to progress that, we then set off on our way to the Artemis Tau cluster, to the planet of Therum, and try and find Dr. Liara Tassoni. Now, upon landing, we discover that the planet has already been taken by the Geth.
They're already there. They beat us to the punch.
They certainly did. And you're dropped off in your Mako, which is your sort of six-wheeled... Is it six-wheeled, actually? In Andromeda, it's six-wheeled. I'm pretty sure it's
I think it's six-wheeled. It's not four-wheeled anyway, yeah. Mars rover, bouncy.
Yeah.
It controls like an RC car. It's fun as well, it's actually, I was about to say it's fun as to drive. I go between liking and disliking it.
It's fun when you get the hang of it.
Yeah, I do like the fact that you've got like sort of jet jump boosters whilst also having a forward booster, and it really does bounce around. The suspension on it really does resemble like a remote control car, like one of those Tyco RC things from kid days.
And if you know what you're doing, by which I mean if you know what textures you can like climb up, you can essentially climb vertical faces. You can't on all of it,
very powerful.
But if you've got like, if you see like the grass or snow or a slightly different texture on the terrain, you can typically go up those.
Yeah. It's wild.
It's so good, and they've improved on it massively in the Legendary Edition over the original trilogy. I've got to say, it's much better to get around.
Is it?
Maker. Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Like, it probably still works the same way in the original Mass Effect 1, but the way that, because the textures on the planets look so much nicer, and maybe it's just you can see it differently, but it just works so much better.
Side note, it's also got some pretty good offensive capabilities.
Very good.
I actually found myself fighting a giant alien worm thresher thing on a different planet.
Thresher Mal, yeah.
Yeah, and I discovered that it actually had a pretty sweet kind of chain laser gun on it, as well as a rocket launcher style attachment as well, and made mincemeat of that after dying a good few amount of time, an embarrassing amount of times to that thresher.
Yeah.
If you want to go check that out, check out the Twitch stream, but yeah, go easy.
Twitch.tv/Hoodafunk.
Thank you, James. Thank you, James. Good plug, good plug.
But yes, Thresher Moors can be a pain in the arse. Even more of a pain in the arse back in Mass Effect 1 Original, because in the Legendary Edition, another thing that they've made a change with that is certainly a quality of life improvement is that when you kill an enemy inside the Mako, you get the full experience. In the old games, you got less experience if you killed it in the Mako, so the strat was rinse itself down to 1 or 2 shots left, get out the car, kill it with your guns.
I remember that, and that's something I'd actually forgotten. I'd
Yeah.
completely forgotten that that was a thing. And it was also something weird I used to do in Borderlands as well, although it makes less of a difference in that.
The mission itself is to go to these old ruins, look for Dr. Tassoni, and see if she wants to help us. And what it devolves into is Driving gauntlet, kill a shitload of Geth. Yeah, we're talking your standard Geth troops, think like little robot humanoid type jobbies. Geth destroyers, I'm pretty sure they're called, which are slightly bigger, sort of on all fours, tanky looking motherfuckers. They're not, they're only sometimes on all fours, sometimes they're still bipedal. And then you've got the big brutes, which I think are called Geth Colossi.
That's it.
And
Yeah.
these motherfuckers are just hench, proper four-legged. They lock themselves down and just beam cannon you with their heads.
I like their death animation, the way they kind of just like short circuit.
And they're actually quite a tough enemy too, which is a nice change of paces, because to this point there's been some tough fights, but the enemies themselves haven't necessarily been tough, apart from the Thresher Moors that you mentioned a little bit there.
Yeah, which is optional at that point as well.
Yeah. You meet a bunch of them, and I think they're all technically optional. So this Geth Gauntlet, if you like, sort of ends with you arriving at the outside of the facility, and then a proper like waves of Geth start coming, including one new one, which is almost kind of resembles a frog.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That was tough, actually.
Yeah.
I found that fight quite a challenge.
Because they jump about a lot, and they can get behind you really easily, and then they beam you with like a laser beam.
That's true. They're kind of like very agile snipers.
Yeah, I'm trying desperately to remember what they're called. They have a special name as well, but I can't remember what it is. All I can think of is Observer, but that's from Andromeda. But yeah, it was nice to see the single enemy type, the Geth, have so many different options, and it was nice. I don't think you get too many more Geth options throughout the game, but it was nice to sort of see the gamut of them and have like different fight. And some of those waves are tough, man. I mean, there's one where you got two of those frog boys, and then a Colossus and a bunch of normal Geth, and
that was the bit that I did struggle. I died multiple times on that. That's all on stream as well, much to my embarrassment.
It's fair enough, man. It's a tough bit.
I was using a lot of my biotic powers, like lifting them up into the air to basically just stop them from moving, and then focus all fire on that.
With the froggy boys, that's a great tactic.
Yeah.
At this point, who is your main sort of duo that you like to use?
So I think at that point specifically, I was using Rex the Krogan and Garrus the Turian.
Yeah.
However, I think now I've changed it around, and I'm using Garrus the Turian and Tali the Quarian.
Nice.
Just because she has some really powerful tech engineering abilities, and I've actually been upgrading her so that I'm able to do some of the special decryption hacking that you can do in the game, because my technology skill isn't high enough playing as the character that I am.
You probably won't even have the option, actually, will you? Do you even have electronics?
No. So Tali is my main hacker, basically, yeah.
That makes sense.
As well as being a pretty decent healer, I think, as well. So
she's just pretty good around, and she can actually later on, she can sabotage Geth.
That's right, and I've got a damping ability as well, so yeah, she has some great abilities to use against electronics. And then I've kind of got Garrus for my long distance support, and he mostly focuses on, I've got like anti-personnel rounds and things like that to do a bit of damage against more human enemies.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And actually, Tali gets super good in the later games too. Now, if you think tech abilities in Mass Effect 1 are, let's say, 6 out of 10, they're decent, but they're not going to necessarily win you a fight on its own. 2 and 3, they instantly jump to about 9 out of 10.
Right, cool.
So, we won't go into it now, but it shoots up, which is another reason why Infiltrator is such a great class to play.
What about you?
I was going to say, I typically also use Rex and Garrus because they're my favorite too. It's not necessarily the perfect combination for my playstyle, but in Mass Effect 1 I will always use Rex because, slight spoiler, you don't get him as a companion in any of the other games.
Oh, okay.
So
I wasn't aware of that.
Some stuff happens in Mass Effect 1 that will determine what happens to him in general, but this is the only game you play here you get him as a sidekick. And he's, as I've said earlier in the pod, he's in my top 3 favourite characters in the whole franchise. So he's just in my team. And I love Garrus as well. He's also probably in my top 3 favourite characters in the franchise.
He's very cool. The moment he started talking about being fed up with all the red tape and it's nice to be a Spectre and above the law, I was like, this is my guy right here.
And this is the thing. As a renegade, you can make him more renegade, and if you're a paragon, you can influence him to be more paragon.
Oh, can you? That's cool.
But I'm probably going to end up using Liara and Rex because same reasons. Rex is just a great tank and has some biotics. Liara, she can be my healer. She's pure biotics, so she has a load more things. She can use singularity. I've got all of the decryption and electronic stuff. But no, so once you do finally get through that fight, you get into the facility itself. Little bit of exploring leads you to a static chamber, if you like, I suppose. It's basically force fields are up, and you see a lovely Asari just floating there in the ether, just all like,
yeah, so I've accidentally turned on all the automated defenses of this old Prothean ruin here. I'm now stuck.
And that is
She's got
Liara.
kind of a weird way of speaking, doesn't she, as well?
She-
It kind of sounds like she's quite transient and detached.
Yeah, she does a bit. I think it's because she's meant to be really young for an Asari. I think it's sort of meant to be sort of innocence and things like that.
Right, okay.
But yes, and this is you meeting Dr. Liara Tassoni, your final crew member. I was really nice to her about the whole predicament. You know,
I called her a dumbass.
Yeah, exactly. It's great. And she can't get herself out. She set off the traps because she's heard the Geth coming in and was obviously worried for her safety, but she then can't get out. So you are tasked with freeing her. And this is achieved by firing a mining laser into the floor so you can go under the force field to come up behind her and let her out.
This really sounds like the Renegade option. Like there should have been a Paragon
Yeah.
option to like use some AI Prothean hacking or something,
Yeah.
but
no,
no, just fucking blow a hole in the floor.
Exactly, that's the only option because it plays into what happens next, which is you save her, but the seismic activity caused by this blast essentially causes the ruins to start collapsing in on themselves. So you sort of get out and you're trying to escape, and then this Krogan mercenary who's been tasked with capturing or killing Liara comes out and gives you a little spiel. You can try and reason with him. It doesn't work. I don't think either option, Renegade or Paragon, doesn't work at all. Have a nice little fight, which is again a relatively tough fight, but purely because they're all in a doorway and they just sort of all blast on you at once.
That's right. It's almost more the shock of the encounter. It's like if you can get into some cover, it's honestly not too bad.
No.
I think that still took me a couple goes though, to be honest with you. He has a lot of health.
And it's 5 enemies or so you have to take out a lot of things. But yes, you do that, and then there's a lovely little cutscene where you're sort of running, getting away from an explosion. It's gonna get us! It's gonna get us! But no, you get out. The day is saved. You have Liara now.
Joker skillfully picks you up.
Certainly does.
Won't stop bragging about it when you get back on board, though.
Really won't. But and interestingly as well, this is the second Prothean thing you've destroyed in 2 missions.
It's
So
not going so well.
really doing well with the old Protheans. But yeah, you bring Liara back on your ship. There's a big old team meeting. And that, listeners, is where we're going to pause for this week. We now have a full crew.
Just as we're starting to get the squad together.
Exactly. We have a full crew. Things are going down. We've established our sort of favourites a little bit more. Meat and bones of the games come in. Ferris on Nevaria to visit. Good times.
Yes.
Good times.
Okay, man, I've had an absolute blast this week, catching up with your progress last week from Mass Effect. Looking forward to being able to sort of play a bit more side by side this week.
Yeah.
Looking forward to putting a couple bit more hours onto stream, I hope. And much looking forward to the next episode when we go in with our full squad and hopefully start tracking down this motherfucker Saren.
Absolutely. We're going to kick that ass.
With all that said, man, I think it's time to draw the podcast to a close. You can, as always, find the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and pretty much anywhere else you get your podcasts by searching for Total Pod Mode. We also post regular video content of our playthroughs, stream highlights, as well as the podcast on our YouTube channel, Total Pod Mode.
And you can also find us on Twitter by searching for @TotalPodMode, all one word.
Or you can find me at Whodafunk on Twitter, and I'm also on Twitch under twitch.tv/Whodafunk.
And you can find me on Twitter @MrBames, and I'm also on Twitch under twitch.tv/MrBames_TPM.
As always, a very special thank you to our listeners. Thank you for your continued support. It does mean the world to us.
Certainly does.
And we will see you next week.
Until
Have a good
then.
week, everyone.
Bye-bye!
Bye now.